Tuesday night, it's 9 o'clock, and we are here to kick off yet another season in the RTA Virtual Motorsports World. The first round of the RTA Porsche Cup Series 2026. With the glitz and glamour of the awards night last week in the town of Spain. We're back to where we should have also home for open round what's set to be a kicking off a little bit more door bagging this time around, with maybe something less on the line in terms of the real world drive, but certainly plenty on the line for all of these Porsche drivers who grid up tonight. Hopefully these things will be added more all of the day. My name is Kevin Galvin. I'm joined as always by Evan Dalton in the background. Chat. Thanks to all of you for getting in touch already. We'll read some of your comments out. So you guys might be able to hear me for the opening of this championship. I'll wait for Rona to give me the all clear, and I'll do that intro all over again. Right, so you're very welcome to the opening round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Porsche Cup Series 2026 right here from the Red Bull Ring. My name is Kevin Galvin. I'm joined as always by Evan Dalton with Ronan Hedeman in the background. And after all the glitz and glamour of last week, the awards ceremony where we crowned three very deserving drivers in Jack Wynn, Travis Mawhinney and Campto Chukwu as our RTA Formula V Series, Scholarship Series champions, with thanks to GamerFest. We're back here at the Red Bull Ring for the first round of what we hope is going to be an extremely exciting tin top series and a bit more door banging there. So our first round of the championship brings us to a new circuit. We head all the way from Walch's Corner, where we traditionally begin our season, and head over to the country of Austria and indeed the Red Bull Ring. This is a track well known to all of you who watch Formula One, and it's certainly a track that's got a revival over the last number of years. The old A1 GP, as it was known as. 4.326 kilometers, that's 2.68 miles in all money, 10 turns only, one of the shortest tracks, I think probably the shortest track on the F1 calendar in terms of race lap time, and a race lap record of 107.924. That is set by Australia's Oscar Piastri last year, when he managed not to keep it, not to put it in the wall, and indeed set a decent lap around this circuit. We're right in the Styrian Mountains here in the middle of Europe. And Evan, after all the glitz and glamour, as I said last week, of the Formula V Scholarship Series winners, it's back to the tin tops, and I think a series that an awful lot of the regulars have been looking forward to even more excitedly than the one we had last year.
Yes, good evening, Kevin. Good evening, everyone watching along. It's nice to be sat back in my desk chair and not stood up on a box to make my height look closer to yours. It's more relaxed this week. But this is a long-awaited return of tin tops. The screeches of the Formula Vs are now in the past, and we are here for the Porsche Cup. Significantly faster cars at bigger circuits. It should be a very fun one. Although there's not as much on the line in terms of a scholarship, that doesn't mean it's going to be any less competitive. We have a 40-car grid for hopefully all the races this season, and it should be a very fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really good one. And talking about the crossover from last week into this week, last week you might remember that we gave out 3 Hustler trophies, which was a 6-month Trophy.ai scholarship, but thanks to Jack Wynn. And I think if you look very closely on the top right of your screen, you will have just seen the Trophy.ai logo, who are one of our partners for this season, alongside our regulars, Bois Motorsport and, of course, Mondello Park. So great to have a new partner on board. We'll talk a little bit more about what Trophy.ai does, as well as talking about what Bois Motorsport do, because plenty happening in the world of Irish motorsport. Not necessarily all of it good, but we're right back in the updated version of the Formula Vs, Evan, and we just had an update today on the iRacing service, and that's made a significant change to the Red Bull Ring, because I believe we've now got 3D curbing patched in, which is making these Porsche Cup cars a little bit more unstable than they were during practice.
We do. We have new curbs here at the Red Bull Ring. They're not the most stable things, anyways. And yeah, the car's bouncing a little bit over those new 3D curbs. Kevin Joyce telling us that they're like kangaroos. So those curbs making things difficult, but a great car, this new Porsche Cup. Um, Loved by some, hated by others. Peter McCann, who was quite quick in the old ones, but loved for the most part. 4 litre flat six, massively aspirated, 512 brake horsepower. They've got ABS, they've got traction control. This couldn't be further from a Formula V if you tried.
Yeah, yeah, it's a massive change in style, and a lot of these guys, particularly the guys who were really going hammer and tongs for the Formula V Championship, haven't had a huge amount of time to try and recalibrate. So it will be interesting to see whether things get shook up a little bit more by those drivers who maybe didn't participate in the Formula V Scholarship Series, or maybe got knocked out a little bit earlier than they would have liked to, now get involved. Now, great to see a return. We talked of the addition of Trophy AI. Great to see the return of an old sponsor favourite. Peter McCann not on the grid this evening, but he's handed his car over to his Clio friend, Adam Dowling, who is running the Earnchild sponsored number 7 Porsche Cup car. And doesn't it look fantastic, taking Earnchild's very much into the 21st century?
Yes, fantastic. Fair play to all involved. It's great to have the fabulous folks at Earn Tiles back involved in RTA Virtual Motorsport, and I'm sure Peter is going to do that car very proud when he gets back on track next week in the Nürburgring. But it's in the safe hands of Adam Dowling, which is a name that, that's Jordan Kelly actually we're looking at. I think they're both in the same livery, but that's Jordan Kelly who we are looking at in the number 11. Jordan is on the sim tonight. But he was still quick on the pad. He was quicker than me on his controller last night, which didn't make me feel too good about myself. But Jordan, as we know, is an excellent driver, and despite him racing real life single seaters all his life, very good in tin top machinery.
Yeah, getting on a track with Jordan Kelly usually makes you feel slightly inadequate about yourself. So don't worry, Evan, you're not the first, and you certainly won't be the last. As a collision there in the background, as we saw, this is Peter Duke we're looking at the moment, but a big incident involving Jack Wynn. We'll talk a little bit more about him, and I see the number 39 car. It's in the Rexy livery. That is a very well-known livery for those of you who look at IMSA or indeed Rec. That's Sean McGoldrick running that one. So Sean caught up on that. 38 is Jaxer, and number 12, as we said, is Ross Wheatley in the DC Motorsport machine. We'll come back to DC Motorsport because it doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. As we see somebody spinning around, that is the 34 car of Dave Collier spinning us around and giving us a bit of an opportunity to explain that DC Motorsport does not stand for Dave Collier, but rather stands for Duke. I got to get this one right. This was sent to me today by Dave Collier, and he says DC stands for Duke Collier Motorsport, which is a combined effort between himself and Peter Duke. There's also quite a few other drivers involved. Wayne Douglas, who's a name that we know well, former British GB3 champion Wayne Douglas, owner of Douglas Motorsport. Jared Love, Ross Wheatley, all involved in it. And it goes all the way back to 1993 when Dave and Peter were rivals back in the Formula Ford 1600s. And all three of those, Peter, Wayne and Dave Collier, would have raced in the Formula Opel Lotus in Ireland and the UK in the 1990s. So some serious real-world driving. But yeah, I always thought it stood for Dave Collier Motorsport, but it actually stands for Duke Collier Motorsport. And finally, we will have the Duke in the Duke Collier Motorsport racing with us this evening.
Yeah, it seems like there could have been an easier workaround for the DC mix-up, but nevertheless, it's great to have David Coulthard Motorsport on the grid with us here this evening. And it's good to have a team back, isn't it? Because we've had combined team efforts in the past. I know we have Team DDR who have always kind of been trundling through, but it's great to have team efforts back with us. I know we had a few of the Formula 4 teams sort of put in a combined effort for our Formula 4 Championship, but good to see, and best of luck to you, Collier Motorsport, for the season ahead. I look forward to seeing how their drivers work together, especially in these qualifying sessions.
Yeah, speaking of teams, this is Simran Takar in the 36 Potato Nation livery. You can see spuds, or as we know them in Cork, poppies or pops in all kinds of different variations. There are just endless amount of things you can do with a potato, including putting it on the livery of your car. So good to see Simran back. He was a regular in years gone by, but we haven't seen him in a while in the 36 machine. So looking forward to seeing how he gets on in the Potato Nation car. Behind him is the adequately there has to be one. We have a car for, we have a grid of 40. It was inevitable we were going to have a 69 car, and that is belonging to Mladen Strikovic in the Black Bull Racing number 69. Strachan, is one of our, Mladen should I say, is one of our newest drivers, but he's quick in the sim, but his real life, or his hopeful real life career will involve him going even faster, because Mladen is hoping to become a pilot. So let's see if he can hit rotate speed in these Porsche Cup cars. And will he follow Jan Zoutvela into aviation history that we saw a couple of weeks ago in Silverstone?
Yeah, I was going to say, pilot and training, you would have loved the Formula Vs. They take off very quickly, but these Porsche Cup cars don't go airborne as quickly. And speaking of Jan Zoutvela, he is quickest in qualifying after 6 minutes, was very quick in the practice last night. Said he raced recently in another championship around here in the Porsche Cup car, so he has lots of experience, lots of track time, and that is very much necessary. He's just been beaten over by Brandon McGaughan, who goes up the top. This is Brandon's, I know last week we had a lot of sim equipment behind us on the stream. This is Brandon's first ever race with a load cell pedal.
Wow, that's incredible when you think about how consistent Brandon is. Um, Fair play to Brandon McGahan. I'm sure he's enjoying it. Certainly, the times are proving. So, could this potentially be the next step for Brandon McGahan to fight the likes of the Dylan and Sean McClements at the front of the timing tower, Evan? I wonder.
Yeah, certainly it was another, or is one of my excuses, it gotten rid of when I found out Brandon didn't have a load cell. Because anyone goes, "Oh, you're not very consistent." I go, "Oh well, I don't have a load cell." Brandon McGaughan won 5 races last season without one, so that excuse is gone. But certainly Brandon started off this last season excellently, had fantastic consistency, but then it kind of just fell off when the likes of Sean picked up his pace, when Dylan picked up his pace. So it'll be very interesting to see can Brandon keep it consistent throughout the course of this season. Obviously, he is a very busy man with his real world motorsport efforts as well, so unsure if he is committed to the full 8 races, but there's no doubt he hasn't got the pace or the skill to challenge for the full championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible that a guy who has so much real world racing experience couldn't get a load cell pedal from anywhere in the last how many years. But yeah, it just goes to show you. I love the little effects on the Porsche Cup cars. We say it's a new Porsche Cup car, so everything's very shiny, everything's new, lovely new texturing. And also, one of the things I noticed that I really appreciate is that little wiper wobble that you see from the aero buffer, from the wind buffering, as we as modelled by Dylan McClements in the 88 machine. Those are just the tiny little details that it just gives you that little bit of extra immersion. I can tell you that in VR, you notice that if you're running in VR big time. Right, Brandon 29.9, Jan Zoutfella at a 28.989, and then in the Dylan just behind him at a 130.030. As we've said, we spoke about some of the newer drivers on the grid, but there's a huge amount of new names that we've seen before. A huge amount of names that we haven't seen before, should I say. Dean Power is one that I'm seeing, Stephen Donnelly, Michael Corrie, Nicky Charlier, Ian May, Sean Cullen, who has gotten in touch with me previously. I think Sean, we'll talk a little bit about Sean down the line. Sean Smith, Grace McCallion, Aidan Moore, who has an I-rating, ladies and gentlemen, of 190. But as you can see, leaving very much his football allegiances out on track. He's a Dundee United fan.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I mean, I suppose northeast of England, Newcastle, and then
Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. It's a strange one. Dundee United, of course. There's an Irish connection. Well, 2 Irish players playing with Dundee United at the moment, but a properly Irish player is Neil Ferrugia the former UCD and Shamrock Rovers player. And this is a lovely little crossover because it's very rare I get to talk about the League of Ireland when I get to commentate on RTA. But I can tell you that he's playing with Dundee this season. And Dundee, it's the Dundee Derby this weekend. Probably the closest geographical derby of all time. Very, very little between Den Park and Tannadice. Literally just a road separating them. So Dundee playing Dundee United. And I believe if Dundee beat the Tangerines this weekend, they'll go above them in the Scottish Premiership table. So I'm sure that that will be catching Aidan Moore's attention this weekend.
Yeah, lots of Irish players playing in smaller clubs in Scotland. One that sticks out to me was a recent signing for Dunfermline, Freddie Turley, the Ireland under 17s captain, either under 17s or under 21s or something like that. Captain signing for Dunfermline. So lots of Irish players doing well in Scotland. Here's Sean McGoldrick looking at driving Rexy, based off the AO Racing GT3 Le Mans winning livery. Not quite accurate though, because Rexy now has a gold tooth after winning Le Mans. I can't quite see it on Sean's car. Sean McGoldrick running in fourth. He is one man who is absolutely delighted to get out of the Formula V's and into something bigger and quicker. He's just dropped down to fifth though, because Wildfire Racing's Harvey Dara has just jumped up to third.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that Wildfire Racing are getting some sort of a win of some point, because this season's been fairly disastrous for us thus far. But Harvey up into third. Of course, Harvey will be running with Wildfire Racing. Ember the Sebring 12 hours, which happens later on this month. And I've also noticed, quite interestingly, on a slight off-piste topic, that Le Mans Ultimate will be running their 1,000 kilometers of Qatar on the same weekend. So you can either decide to have the traditional IMSA spectacle of the Sebring 12 hours, or you can do some Mickey Mouse endurance in an oil-rich authoritarian state. But that's up to you. Camto Chokwa, 21st. Obviously, his eyes very much on the Formula V series. And we found out after the stream, Evan, that Campto will be the very first black driver in an Irish racing series, which is going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be, because it already is an incredible achievement, to pick, especially when you understand that Campto and his dad have worked so hard to get him to where he is today.
Yes, it's going to be fantastic to see Camto sit in that car and start the race in Mondello on the 18th of April. Really, really looking forward to that one. There will be a lot more coverage on Camto's racing debut, folks, so don't worry about that. We're not just leaving the scholarship series in the past. There will be a lot about that. To be fair, Camto in 22nd, he's just finished the scholarship series. He's just finished a big F3 championship as well. I think he's just taken this one as a little bit of a way to relax on a Tuesday evening, and as he should. He's also in the Rexy livery, the AO Racing number 42. But yeah, Camto he's achieved what he wanted to achieve. This is all just an added bonus. Same for this man, Jack Wynne, who is another one of our scholarship winners, but quite competitive in the Porsche car. So he is going to be going to improve, or he's going to look to improve on his RTA debut season, which was about as successful as you can get. He's currently fifth in the qualifying order with just under 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who've raced RTA would have loved to have been put in a real world drive after winning their first season, but Jack can claim that to his name. He's good at the tin tops. He's won the Nürburgring 24 in the GT4 class with Potato Nation. And Evan has, I think Evan's trying to trip me up here, lads, because Jack Wynne is a former Sparky, but he's been relegated to plumber on my driver notes here. But I can confirm to you that Jack Wynne is a former Sparky from Baldoyle. Jacked it all in. Good, nice pun there. And I took up the sim racing and has been doing it full time for the last number of years. And as he says, you can either be fast or be funny. And I feel like he manages to do both.
I don't know why my poor lack of quality of notes has just been called out there, but I would like to greatly apologise to all the viewers and to my co-commentator Kevin Calvin for the error. Jack Wynne is in fact a former electrician, not a plumber. The more you know, folks.
There you go. And so yeah, there is definitely a joke to be made there, but we've been good at laying off the Jack Wynn puns last season. I think we should keep that going into this season. Right.
Absolutely
Dean
not.
Power is another new name. That is a very interesting livery. It's like a Dr. Pepper ish, yeah, Dr. Pepper stylistic one. Big fan of that. We want to know, we always talk about our driver of the day as well over the course of the year. Simon Hutchings, that's a name we know well, and displaying the Welsh flag proudly after a very resilient performance last week. But yeah, Jan Zouteveld topping the timing standings, followed by Dylan McClemens, then Harvey Dara, Brandon McCann, Jordan Kelly, Jack Wynn, Sean McGoldrick, Conor Melia, Colin O'Regan, and Diarmid Toomey. We'll get a full roundup of qualifying results with Evan, and then we'll go to our chat.
Yes, it is Jan Zettevelle, the Dutchman, who is on pole position with Dylan McClements on the front row alongside him for what is a standing start in this Porsche Cup. Harvey Dara in third, Brandon McGohan alongside him in fourth. Then it is Jordan Kelly and Jack Wynn on row number 3. Then it is Sean McGoldrick, Conor Melia, Colin O'Regan, Diarmid Toomey, Tony Griffin, Sean McClemens, Simran Thacker. Then it is Nicky Charlier ahead of Peter Dunn, Eric Killeen, Rory O'Shea, Lee Cogan, Dean Power, and Lawrence de Soswa, rounding out the top 20. In 21st, Michael Corrie ahead of Camto Chukwa, Stephen Donnelly in 23rd, David Prunty 24th, Adam Dowling in 25th ahead of Simon Hutchings, David Edward, Jamal Gandor, Mladen Shrikovic. Then it is Dave Collier, Ross Wheatley, Phil Upson, Ian May, Sean Cullen, Sean Smith, Ronan Keane, Queevy and Brandon, Grace McCallion, Aidan Moore and Colin Carrigan. I thought when the V's were gone that would be a lot easier to read out, but no, not the case.
No, and we have very limited time, and I can imagine reading out the classified results from race 1 is going to be a serious challenge for you, Evan Dalton. Before we get to race 2, we'll come back to the chat in a second when we get the opportunity, but what I want to know is your favourite livery so far of the season that we've showcased. We talk about our favourite driver of the day. I want to know your livery of the day as we get going for the opening race here of the RTA Virtual Motorsports Porsche Cup Series 2026.
Well, it is a change of scenery. No longer Formula V's. We have 512 brake horsepower Porsches to tangle around the Red Bull Ring, and the hills are alive with the sound of race cars. It's a brilliant start for Jan Zoutevelle, who's going to lead into the Nicky Lauda curve for the first time. Jordan Kelly up and ahead of Brandon McGohan in towards the first corner, but it is a long run up the hill here before you get to Remus of turn number 3, and Jan Zoutevelle, the Dutchman, has a task on his hand to keep the fiery Dylan McClemens behind, the reigning and defending RTA Virtual Motorsport champion, a little bit behind. Simran Thacker pulls to the outside of Tony Griffin here, and Dylan McClemens has gone for the race lead down the inside on Jan Zoutevelle, and that is the number 88 into the lead here at the Red Bull Ring. We're bouncing and bobbling our way over the curbs, heading down towards turn number 4, the Schloss goal, and it looks like Jan Zoutevelle is going to barrel one back down the inside. Yes, he will. The Dutchman fancies his chances late on the brakes, and that's a beauty of a move from Jan Zoutevelle, but is he able to pull it off in towards the double left-handers?
Yeah, it's going to be tight. I think Sean's going to, or did I say Dylan's going to come back at him in the 88 car, hammer on tongs, the two of them. Opening lap of the series, ladies and gentlemen. We're not taking it easy here in any way, shape or form. Mladen Srekovic unfortunately caught up an instant down the back, as was Jamal Gandor. They're bowed down quite a considerable amount of places. Up 8 places now is Dara O'Connor into 35th, and any other biggers, moves or shakers, Diarmid Toomey down 5. But Dylan McClemens holding off from Jan Zoutevelle. What a great opening lap battle that was. Jack Wynn in 7th place. He's down 1. The man in front of him, Sean McGoldrick, taking ahead of him in the Rexy livery car. Then we have Jordan Kelly in P5. So we talk about trying to get to grips with these different style of cars, but some guys are just quick no matter what you put them in. Jordan Kelly is one of those. He's at the back of this pack, and we have a pack already of 5 who are leading us in on the second lap. Very, very close, and we've only just kicked off this series.
Brandon McGohan hot on the heels of the number 4, Harvey Dara. But no move there. Jordan Kelly is keeping right in touch with these two. A 10-minute heat number 1. quite short. We're lapping about the 130s, high 29s if you're quick enough, but I doubt it on race pace. Dylan McClements defends to the inside of the track, forces Jan Zoutevella out on the curb, but there will be no overtake found there, and the Dutchman is going to have to stay behind for the time being. Tony Griffin has got ahead of Colin O'Regan, Tony's best race in the Formula V's last season coming at Hockenheim, so these Central European tracks suiting the skills of Tony Griffin nicely. Dylan McClements has run a little bit wide and he will bounce over that curb, but you can see just about staying in front of Zoutevella. Jan, who missed out on the scholarship by about 3 points, 1 position, and maybe a slightly better interview, so he is here in RTA with a point to prove. What better way to do that than beating the reigning champion?
Yeah, and he's a busy boy, is Jan. He's 3 Porsche Cup car leagues on the go, as well as a GT3 league. So he's getting very used to not being in formulas. Apologies again, folks. New season, same old problems with the glitching. So hopefully Roden Blinky Hederman can get going with this. He's already getting annoyed at me, so I'm not really surprised by that. Dylan McClements is leading Mickey Charlier on a run here. The American, our only American in the grid, actually, it must be said, up into 10th position. He's up 4 spots. As a bit of contact there between Dylan McClements and Jan Zoutevella and Harvey Dara. This is very tasty already, Evan, for the first race of 3 of 8 rounds.
Yeah, welcome to the party, Harvey Dara. He's invited himself into this race lead fight. This is racing we haven't seen for quite some time here on Gantry TV, because, well, Formula V was calling, and that's 4 wide at any given opportunity. But this is different. This is crafty, and this is going to be a good fight, especially in the longer races. A big talking point tonight, not necessarily in this race, but in our longer 15 and 20 minute heats that are coming up later, is the incident points. Very easy to extend track limits here, and I wouldn't be surprised that in the 20-minute race we see some drive-throughs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, especially it's so easy, as you said, to pick up those off tracks on the outside of this, these next 2 corners at the backside of this, the final sector. Very, very easy. You can see there down Dylan getting slightly wide here. Tony Griffin with a yellow flag, but managing to stay in front. Oh, he'd actually lost out to Simran Takar there, so not sure what's going on here now. Dylan McClements in the lead. So not sure where this technical issues are, folks, whether on our end or indeed on the other end. iRacing, of course, doing an update this today, so an awful lot being tested. Right, Dylan McClements still leading, however, and he's really taken to this exceptionally well. Of course, won our Formula V Scholarship Series overall class, too young to race in Mondello as of yet, so wasn't eligible for the scholarship itself, but already starting off on a superb front foot here, Evan. And Dylan, really, really impressive. I mean, did exceptionally well, won his first season, of course, in the LMP2s, so he's obviously used to racing sports cars, but just really impressed by how well he settled into these Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, won his first season in the LMP2s. He's now a 4-time RTA champion, winning in the LMP2s, IndyCars, and back-to-back seasons in the Vs. So this is a whole new experience, really, because, all right, LMP2s are closed-top race cars. Are they similar in any sense to the Porsche Cup? Not really. There's a lot different. But Dylan, starting out as he means to go on here, it took until round 7 to win his first race last season. Then, of course, went back-to-back, as one does when they struggle to win races. So very interesting to see how he fancies his chances here in the Porsche Cup. It's a very stacked grid, as people pointing out in our stream chat. So Dylan and Jan both doing very well at the front of it.
Yeah, let's talk to that. Let's talk about that chat as we try and get ourselves together a little bit technically here to see what's going on. So let's see. Irby Gerbies says spicy already. Chris McCann says odds on Sean and Dylan McClements doing a Schumacher Barrichello at the end of a race for P1. Let's not mention the war. Yeah, Emma Dempsey saying she's raging she's missing out on this one. Didn't get an entry in quick enough. She says it won't be the same without me and Jamal. Yeah, Jamal is missing Emma, I can tell you that much, because he's all the way down in 36th place and down 8 places. So he's definitely worse off for not having you on the grid, as are all of us. Jordan Kelly seems to have had an issue. He is out of the race. He's 42nd place now, and Mladen Strekovic as well. Milan down 12 places and down a lap as well on the leader. So I'm not sure whether he pitted for damage. But Jordan Kelly must have had a big issue there, because he has retired completely from the race. We're seeing an Ivory Coast flag on some of the cars. There's always one that gets that wrong. Let's see, what else do we have here on the chat. Plenty of support for Jack Wynn, as always. Yeah, he said Simran Takar did all the meme Play Nation liveries as well. So good to see Simran back on the grid. Right, we're going to try and keep an eye on what's happening, folks. Jan Zoutvela is in first place as far as I can see with my timing table, but I think my timing table has also packed it in. So Evan, I'm a little bit lost now. Not really sure what's going on. It could be an iRacing problem, because we've seen drivers already quit out of the session or are having to retire their car, notably Jordan Kelly. But our timing table has also packed it in.
Yeah, Time is Terrible thinks it's a House of Pains, popular hit Jump Around, packing it up, packing it in, but it's just come back to us now. Problems for Nicky Charlier, who dropped a couple of positions, but running steady in 15th. It is Jan Zoutevella in the race lead with 1:20 to go. Dylan McClellan second, then it's Brandon McGaughan, Harvey Dara, and Jack Wynn, your top five. Colin Melia in 6th, Colin O'Regan 7th, Simran Takar 8th, Tony Griffin 9th, Eric Killeen is in 10th position. Jan Zoutevella extending the gap at the front, 7/10 of a second, and Dylan McClements has just been overtaken by Brandon McGaughan. The car is heading through the final sector now, and there you go. Dylan McClements has lost the place to Brandon McGaughan. That's a very weird position on the circuit to lose a place, so I imagine that has come from an error.
Yeah, must have, as we take the white flag here and go into our final lap of the opening race. Many thanks to Ronan Hedeman, as always, for getting things going. Johnny Hollywood says it's bad enough that we can't see the racing, but looking at a picture of Ronan and Sean is just adding insult to injury. So appreciate that one. Johnny, who joined us, of course, last week for the Scholarship Series finale after this live stream. If you want to check out what me and Evan look like in real life, or at least what Evan looks like when he's standing on a box next to me, you could check out that video. It's already done. It's already done exceptionally well in terms of our views. So really appreciate that, and that's bringing new people and obviously new drivers, because having Jaxer and having these people on board is also bringing new drivers into the fold as well. Right, Evan, last lap of the race, Jan Zoutvela with a second lead. You said he has plenty to make up for, and he's doing the best he can to make it up in this opening race.
Yeah, excellent performance from Jan Zoutevella. Has really put together some nice lap times. He's lapping within 4/10 of his PB for the entire race, and it's looking like he is going to take the win. And Brandon McGaughan in second position, and Dylan McClements to round out the podium. Is there a late lunge here for Jack Wynn? He's heading through the second to last corner of the Jochen Rindt curve and then the Red Bull Mobile curve, but there'll be no overtaking here. And Jan Zoutevella is going to take the opening heat win of the season. An excellent performance for Jan. That's now back-to-back for Zoutevella. He won the final race in Sebring. He's won the opening race at the Red Bull Ring. So 2 in a row for the Dutchman.
Yeah, it's great stuff from Jan Zoutvela. Superb performance on, as we say, ladies and gents, a 40-car grid this evening. 43-car grid, actually, to be exact. So a huge amount of drivers involved in this, and that always makes winning the opening race particularly difficult, because there's so much carnage. And Simon Hutchins is going to try a late move, will he? Down the inside of the 54 car, and then Farrell knows... Farrell just gets ahead of him. He says 54 on the windscreen, but it's David Prunty in the 54 car. My apologies. Had a look at the wrong timing screen there, and David just gets past as we round up a very action-packed opening race here at the Red Bull Ring. Some winners, some losers. Let's see how it all shaped up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to channel my inner Billy Joel for reading through this one again. But it is Jean Vela on top by 1.6 seconds. Brandon McGaughan in second, Dylan McClements in third, Harvey Dara in fourth, then Jack Wynne, Conor Healy, Colin O'Regan, apologies, Simran Tacker, Tony Griffin, Eric Killeen, Rory O'Shea, Dean Power, Nicky Charlier, and Peter Duke in 14th. We're waiting on some of the back markers to come round, one of them being Sean McGoldrick, unfortunately. Not a great result for Sean. 15th, Dermot Toomey. Lee Cogan in 16th. Michael Corrie in 17th. Then it was Camdo Chukwa, Lawrence de Soswa, Stephen Donnelly, Adam Dowling, Dave Collier, Ian May, Ross Wheatley, Sean Smith, Sean Cullen, Dara O'Connor, Colin Carrigan, Phil Upson, Sean McClements. And down the back of the order, David Prunty, Simon Hutchings, Enda Farrell, Jamal Gandor, Grace McCallion, David Edwards, Aidan War, Queefy and Brennan, Ronan Keane, Sean McGoldrick, Jordan Kelly, Mladen Shrekovic, and Jared Love.
Yeah, some names there you wouldn't expect. Sean McGoldrick, Jordan Kelly, Mladen Strekovic is a former professional karter. And also Sean McClements pretty far down there too. A lot of drivers will be very disappointed with their opening race, but they have a chance to get it back here in the second race. And let's remember, if you haven't joined us before, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. 3 races this evening, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. First race is set by the qualifying, the second race is set by the results from grid 1, and the third race, the top 8 drivers switch around. 8 goes to first goes to 8th, and then 9th onwards stay where they are. So if you can get in the top 8, even if you're finished 7th or 8th, you have a great chance to start on the front of the grid for the feature 20-minute race. All of them worth the same amount as we get going for the second race of the opening round of the RTA Porsche Cup Series.
I've red lights out of Ella McGaughan on the front row, and we are away. Let's let battle commence here at the Red Bull Ring. Great start from Dylan McClements, who's looking to make amends, and he is already up to second before braking for the Nicky Lauder curve. The number 88, is he going to have a lunge up the inside of Jean Vela once again? The slipstream, a bit more powerful than you'd think in these Porsche Cup cars, as we do have a spinner. Adam Dowling has gone across the runoff at turn number 1, and disappointing for Adam, who's just dropped down the order. Dylan McClements going for the move in towards the hairpin at the top of the track as we're looking at the 41st place man, and Harvey Dara on the outside as well. But Dylan has had a poor run through Remus, and Brandon McGaughan is on his tail.
Yeah, we have drivers swapping all over the place here in a really, really competitive grid. Another spinner in the background. That is Stephen Donnelly going down there. Dean Power losing a lot of places. Michael Corrie down a lot of places. Yeah, there's a huge amount of people falling down, and Adam Dowling resulting from it. I'm glad Adam didn't do that when I was in the car with him in Mondello, or I would have lost my life. Let's have a look at our very first RTA Porsche Cup Series replay of the season. We're on board with, we're looking at least at Lee Cogan in the 26 car. 4 doesn't go in there, and unfortunately, Dr. Pepper himself gets spun around. And
if you're going to wipe 4 people out, don't wipe yourself out at the same time.
Then wipe everyone. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
it's car park.
no.
Car park on the back straight of the Red Bull Ring. Oh, dear. I mean, it's hard. Traffic is a notorious problem around the Syrian mountains around the time of the F1 Grand Prix, but that was M50 Monday evening right there on the back straight at the Red Bull Ring.
That was cinematic. We just look at Lee Cogan making a fool of himself, and it pans to just 7 cars there. Fantastic. Very disappointing for some. Some of the names caught up in that one. Stephen Donnelly, Dean Power, Michael Corrie, Colin Carrigan, Peter Duke, Jamal was called up in that one as well. Dara O'Connor up 12 positions, big beneficiary from that collision. We're currently looking at Colin O'Regan in the 46, who has a little bit of space behind him, to Rory O'Shea. And I get to say it again,
here we go.
In the High Prix.
Yeah, the other, not the only Wexford native joining us though. Of course, we have Sean Cullen getting involved. Sean is originally from Enniscorthy, now living in Gorey. And he said he's new to fatherhood. Congratulations, Sean, on the birth of your baby child, whose gender I don't know. But he says, so the missus is delighted with all the spare time I spent on the sim. Fair play. Sean setting a good example to Sean Cullen Jr. by spending your opening weeks as a father running around here on the in the Porsche Cup Series. I was going to say, if it's of any consolation to Emma Dempsey, given that she's not running this evening and missed out on a place in this league, if Jamal was caught up on that, you would have almost certainly also been caught up on that. So so at least you saved yourself the frustration of that this evening.
Yeah, Emma, you would have been watching the stream either way, unfortunately. Just given how RTA has gone, Emma caught up with some awful unlucky crashes. Has flashes of brilliance then when she does get a stroke of luck, so it really is disappointing at times. But we're on board with Eric Killeen, or we were, looking back at Jack Wynne, who is in the red, you can see, but there is a move here for Eric Killeen on Tony Griffin, and that's down the inside, and that's about as clean as you'll get. It just gets the job done on the inside of the corner, and Jack Wynne now on the outside of the two, so no slipstream there. Battle for the race lead, Jans Altavella, Dylan McClements, and it is the Dutchman who is in front of the boy from Dunloy. There is Eric Killeen down the inside of Jack Wynne and Nicky Charlier, and that is going to be Killeen who gets the job done. Is it Tony Griffin just in front as well? Tony Griffin there in the blue with the Irish flag pinstripe, you can see. And it is Eric Killeen in the white and green. That is Aidan Moore getting lapped in the Newcastle Dundee Scottish Ivory Coast combination livery. So just in the middle of that fight, but still too wide. Heading in towards the Worth curve. And that is a beauty of a move from Eric Killeen.
Yeah, you could call it a very Killeen move from the 14 car there, as he manages to get ahead of where is he? Eric Killeen. He's in 8th at the moment, 16 car. So yeah, great work from him. Big, yeah, but you can catch it in these new Porsches, which is something that I'm noting is here as well. Thanks to Evan Waltz for your support in the chat. Always appreciate you. Oh, that's a spinner in the background. Jack getting it all kinds of wrong. Was it? No, it was
Nicky. Sorry,
Nicky Charlier. Nicky Charlier getting all kinds of wrong in the 32 car, managing to catch it again before putting him before it goes into the wall. And now he has the. What would we call this? I mean, Dara was like it was a banana livery last year. He's just gone for the Lambo yellow. I think this season, just a very plain yellow combination. But yeah, thanks to everyone for getting in on the chat. Do click the thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed to us, then you have to subscribe to get involved in the chat. So we would love for you to subscribe to us, keep up to date with what's going on, especially if you're a fan of one of these drivers. As Simmer Tacker goes off on the outside there in the 36th car, and he's been relegated down to 13th place. Diarmuid Toomey now looking to try and overtake him.
As we can see, Tony Griffin not quite going side by side with Jack Wynne. Totally unrelated question for you, Kevin, and for the stream chat. If you are buying a Lamborghini, what colour do you get it in? Because I think there's only one answer, but people have said I'm wrong. You get it in that orangey colour, surely.
I mean, I've already yellow. I suppose yellow's more of a Ferrari. Well, it's not really. It's kind of a Ferrari-ish colour. But yeah, I mean, I up silver, but that's just me. I'm bored.
There's always someone who goes, "Oh, green." No, their race cars are green. You're not buying a green car, or maybe you are, but maybe you shouldn't.
It's funny. What I absolutely love is a not on a road car, just generally as a color, is the British racing green. But what I abhor are there's the BMW, there's a big huge BMW yoke driven around Cork by a certain businessman, former owner of Cork City FC, and it's in this really gaudy kind of translucenty green color where it kind of shimmers in the light, and it's kind of like an aqua, but it's this kind of translucent thing that comes through it in the light. It just looks, and the thing is massive. It's like an armored vehicle, but in the shape of with a BMW badge on the front of it, essentially. People will know what I'm talking about in terms. It's a QI something. It's one of the massive ones anyway. One of their massive SUVs. But this thing is just like it takes up an entire parking space. And when I say that, I mean like it's literally the size of the parking space. So if you park next to it, you've absolutely no chance of opening your door. Right. Sean McClements, 18th position. Disappointing for the other boy from Dunloy. The
Actually, sorry, I've
47.
done a crime by saying that because that's Ronan Doherty's nickname.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
apologies, Ronan. Rory
The
O'Shea's gone off at the Red Bull Mobile Curve. He's come back on in 15th place. I would say that was a case of just totally misjudging the corner and having to run wide because he did run wide a couple laps before. So disappointing there for Rory.
Yeah, very disappointing for Rory. Hasn't really quite got up to speed with these Porsche Cup cars yet, but it is great to see him back. And plenty of other returning names as well. We talked about Adam Dowling, who we hadn't seen in a while. Trying to see Simran Takar, who we're looking at now. He's another one, or not, we are not looking at now, but he's swapping positions down the grid. He's another one we haven't seen in quite a while. Enda Farrell is another name I haven't seen in a while. Yeah, there's a good few drivers that are returning back to us. So, yeah, great to see some of the old names. As we said, Peter Duke as well, getting back involved. So, yeah, great to see everyone involved. One of the comments I saw saying all the boys, what did we say again? Is the boys are back, and that's something along here anyway. I'll
Chew.
find it, and I'll bring it back. But I'm thinking about it. Right, Sean McClemens. We talked about him earlier. Sean obviously not quite at his free flowing best, but it is actually a testament to Sean that he's on the grid at all today. Had a nasty accident last night or the night before in real life, and unfortunately, well, is it fair to say he guillotined an ESB pole along the way, but thankfully no major damage
Oh,
to
here's his
Sean or
brother.
indeed his passenger, as his brother tries to go around the outside of Jean Zoutfella. But yeah, not quite getting it done. But
What
Sean, thankfully,
defense?
all okay for Sean McClemens. But yeah, we just wish him all the best, and hopefully that he continues his recovery. But hopefully see him back up the front of the grid soon.
Hopefully, here comes Dylan McClemens. Is he going for the move? No, I was looking for the dummy, but it didn't work out. Yeah, Sean is a hustler and a grafter, and he will always give everything his best bet. He won an RTA race with a broken foot. Um, the best way I could describe Sean is a short format video I saw recently, which said, "Mama didn't raise a quitter; it raised a complainer. I will do it, but you will hear about it." And that is how I describe Sean McClemens.
I think there are a lot of people watching this stream will really have enjoyed what you just said there, Evan Dalton. But yeah, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit it. Right. Eric Killeen, 16th place. Great running for Eric Killeen. He's a new name on my radar. Mightn't be for others. So if he's not a new name in terms of the Mondello paddock, then I do apologize. But Eric's certainly a new name for me.
I think he is Potato Nation, just going by. Oh, Jaxer, sorry. 50-50 chance. Bicky, the nickname being given to him in the chat, so seems to be a popular man around the Jaxer community. Stands out to Vela. That's a big defensive manoeuvre. Dylan McClemens being forced to the outside. And the number 22 has clipped his apex there nicely. Dylan McClemens looking for the switchback, but Jan covers it off. What can the four-time RTA champion produce here to try and get past Jan Zoutevella? He's up and alongside, heading down towards the Schlossgold. Who braced the later of the two?
Oh,
Dylan McClemens!
contact.
There's contact between the two. It is front to rear. Thankfully, both have gone out of top. No, they haven't. Round goes Zoutevella.
He'll be absolutely cursing in Dutch, I imagine, Jan Zoutevella, after that contact. A little bit of contact with Jan. I think Dylan, in fairness, kind of cut across Jan's nose a little bit there, and then there was contact, and then I think both just decided to wouldn't leave it go, and unfortunately there is always a loser in this. Let's have a look at an RTA Virtual Motorsports Gantry TV replay in association with Mondello Park and Bois Motorsports. Let's have a look at this again. Jan Zoutevella on the inside, Dylan McClemens on the outside. Clemens cuts across Zoutevella, a little bit of contact there. They continue to rub. McClemens sticks it in and then again tags the back of Zoutevella. To be honest, Evan, if it was a Junior B football match, it would be 2 yellow cards and get on with the game, right?
Yeah, I think racing. At the time, I thought Dylan cut across Jan very awfully Formula 2 driver-esque, but I think it's a racing incident. I think it takes two to tango at some points, and unfortunately, Jean has come off the worst of it. I would like to see more of that battle. Actually, that was getting tasty.
Yeah, pity. It was funny. I was actually just about to mention that aforementioned Offaly driver when they came down, because when you talked about a young man trying to produce the goods, it made me think of Alex's double overtake at Spa many, many years ago in the ESCC, I think it was called at the time. But it was a Formula 3 or Formula 4. No, it was Formula 3000 or F3. No, it was F3, I think. Anyway, one of those we
USF
raced on.
2000, I know you raced.
Um, I don't think it was USF 2000. Or
I,
then
I just
maybe.
know Jordan Kelly only sent the grid to the RTA Discord a couple of days ago. Stacked grid that was. Really
Yeah,
competitive grid.
yeah, unbelievable. And all representing their countries, which was a nice little flavour to it as well. Right, Harvey Dara in the lead.
Oh,
Wildfires, Harvey Dara in the lead and almost getting caught by Brandon McGahan. But great to see a Wildfire driver at the front. Harvey Darby in the number 4. He's ahead of Brandon McGahan and Dylan McClements. And both Brandon and Con Amelia have penalties, as does Simran Takar. If you see the yellow flag on our timer screen, ladies and gentlemen, that means they have surpassed that amount, and they will have to. No, it's not even they will surpass the penalty amount. They'll have a slowdown to fulfill. So, yeah, that's going to mean that both of those guys are going to have to pull off the throttle a little bit. Now, it shouldn't affect them too much. It affects you most when you're on your opening lap, if you haven't set a time already, because it's based on your delta. So if you haven't set a proper delta, then it does punish you quite greatly. But those guys are able to serve those penalties. But Harvey Dara now leading by 7/10 of a second as we head into what will almost certainly be our final lap.
yeah, looking like this will be our last lap here, anyways. And Harvey Dara is looking to take an RTA race victory. Don't think he took one last season. Did Harvey Darby, the newly named Harvey Darby, was definitely quick and up the front of the Formula V's in his first RTA. Sorry, I apologise. He did win. He won 2 heats, actually, both at Lime Rock in the Slipstream Fest of Connecticut. But here comes Harvey Dara for the final few corners, and he's going to take a commanding victory, capitalised on the incident between Jan Zoutevella and Dylan McClements. But Harvey Dara coming through the final corners, and the young kart racer has a third RTA victory to his name.
Yeah, it's just a testament to plugging away and keeping enough of a nose in with the leaders, so that if something goes wrong, which it can do, and inevitably is more likely to happen at the front of the grid than it is at the back, when guys are racing much closer, and you find yourself right in there. So a great result for Harvey Dara. He becomes our second race winner of the RTA Porsche Cup Series, stopping Dylan McClements from doing a 2 in a row. And yeah, it is. It was a disappointing one between Jan and Dylan. Comments reckon that that's on Jan Zoutevella, but I'm sure it'll be for the stewards to decide, and I'm almost positive there will be an incident raised. So I know, Evan, that you and Ronan do like to get involved and keep your ear in regarding the incident report at the end. So we might have to come back to you next week and hear about what happened there. Stephen Donnelly comes across the line in 33rd position behind David Edwards and Queeveen Brennan, then Ross Wheatley, followed by Peter Duke, his Duke Collier Motorsport teammate, and then Ronan Keane crossing in 36th, and then Michael Curry. Grace Bacallion will be the last car to cross the line, but not the last car in the grid. Ian May, unfortunately, takes that unwanted moniker. And Grace, in a really nice color scheme. It's real 1980s sort of color scheme there. Big fan of that in the 24 car, but unfortunately she finishes in 39th. Right, Evan, let's have a look at what we have after all that.
Yeah, Grace, delighted for the return of the infamous Racy Gracie podcast that happens in the Discord channel during the races. But Harvey Dara on top for Wildfire Racing, Dylan McClements in second, Brandon McGahan then in third, Conor Melia in fourth, and Eric Killeen in fifth position. Then it is Jack Wynn, Colin O'Regan, Nicky Charlier ahead of Tony Griffin, Dermot Toomey, and Jan Zoutevella recovering to 11th. Kevin Joyce saying it was, before the incident, the best defensive performance in RTA since Kevin Joyce in the LMP2s. Simran Tacker in 12th, Camto Chukwa 13th, Dara O'Connor 14th, Jordan Kelly in 15th position ahead of Dave Collier, Lawrence de Soswa, Sean Smith, Mladen Shrejkovic and Sean Cullen in 20th position. In 21st, Rory O'Shea ahead of Sean McClements, Dean Power, Adam Dowling, Phil Upson, Simon Hutchings, David Prunty, Enda Farrell, Sean McGoldrick, Lee Cogan, Quivian Brennan, David Edwards, Stephen Donnelly, Ross Wheatley, Peter Duke, Ronan Keane, Michael Corrie, Colin Carrigan, Grace McCallion and Aidan Moore. So let's hear from your race winner, Harvey Dara.
Yeah, we're joined by. Oh, sorry, Evan. Go on, you go ahead. I thought
No,
you were going
you
to
go
give it
ahead,
to me.
Kevin. Sorry,
Well, I
apologies.
thought you were going to give it to me to highlight my Wildfire Racing teammates' exploits. But Harvey, flying the Wildfire flag, fair play to you, race win. Give us your opinion on what you saw in front of you between Jan and Dylan Clements.
To be honest with you, I don't even know what happened. I just saw the both of them crashing. I was like, oh, this looks good. Maybe I'll get something a wee bit higher than fourth place.
But you got something a good bit higher. I don't know what bigger than a wee bit is. A big wee bit? I don't know. Than fourth place. How you find the Porsche Cup cars thus far? We know you're fast in the tin tops. We know you like a little bit of action. And are you preferring these to the Formula V's?
I would definitely say they're a lot harder to drive than the Formula V's, that's for sure. Very, very tricky over the bumps, and really unstable. So it's a really weird car to drive, but it's fun. It's fun when you go over the bumps and stuff like that. It's not too bad. Like,
Yeah, because new iRacing update today, has that kind of affected how the car handles and have you kind of had to change tack a little bit from what you're doing in practice?
well, it's definitely changed the track. So the whole track is just completely different, and the curbs are completely different, and everything's like another learning experience. So yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. Yeah.
All right, Harvey, looking forward to you joining us again in Wildfire for the Sebring 12 hours. Where hopefully you'll notch another win, but best of luck in the final race, and most certainly we'll be speaking to you between now and then.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, sorry for stealing your thunder, Evan, there, but I just felt it was only right for
Fitting.
a fellow Wildfire racing driver to get a bit of the spotlight here. Right, we are joined by our second place finisher in race 2 and our first place finisher in race 1, Dylan McClements, who will be asked questions by Evan Dalton.
Yeah, Dylan, a good drive from yourself, but the big talking point, of course, the incident with Jan Zoutevella. Talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I thought getting into that corner, I thought I was losing it after the first contact under the wreck, and we were going in quite tight, so I tried to turn in a bit earlier, and he tapped me a bit, and I haven't really looked at it. In terms for the exit, I think he tried to keep it straight. I was looking at my mate Brandon to see if I could swipe over, and I don't really know what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, you were attacking Jan for quite some time before that. Is it difficult to pull off an overtake in these cars?
I don't know, it's quite easy. For majority of the race, I was trying to get him to get a move on, like, because Brandon was dropping back a couple of things, but he kept on doing the inside line, so he caught back up. But in terms of overtaking, it's actually quite enjoyable after the series of V's.
Heat free now, of course, reverse grid. You know well how it works now, being a 4-time champion. What's the approach?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far, my starts are pretty good, and hopefully I'll keep out of chaos. It's quite a strong grid and quite a close grid, so might be a big train. Hopefully not, and hopefully I get on the podium, maybe win.
Dylan, best of luck for the AF30.
Cheers.
Unfortunately, no time to speak to Brandon McGohan, but if he's running the way he's running, we may well speak to him at the end of heat number 3. Reverse pole, Nicky Scherlier.
Yeah, really look forward to seeing how Nicky does. He's made up quite a few places in the last race. The American, as we said, the only American on the grid, and leading the way in the 32 car, followed by Colin O'Regan and Potato Nation's Number 46, Jack Wynn in the 38 car, then Eric Killeen. That's a nice little battle between those two guys. Conor Melia and Brandon McGahan, that's another RTA battle. And then you have Dylan McClements, Harvey Dara, two young drivers. There's a lot of nice little battles here along the grid. Tony Griffin, Diarmuid Toomey, Jan Zoutfella, and Simran Takar. Jan will want to get himself back in amongst that running. Then Campto Chukware, Formula V Scholarship Series winner, followed by Darragh O'Connor, Jordan Kelly, Dave Collier, Lawrence de Soswa, Sean Smith, Bladen Skrekovic, Sean Cullen, Rory O'Shea. Those are two Wexford boys side by side, followed by Sean McClemens, Dean Power, Adam Dowling, Phil Upson, Simon Hutchings, David Prunty, Enda Farrell, Sean McGoldrick, Lee Cogan, Queevy Brennan, David Edwards, Stephen Donnelly, and Ross Wheatley make up our 17th row on the grid, followed by Peter Duke, Ronan Keane, Michael Corey, Colin Carrigan, Grace McCallion, Dundee United fan Aidan Moore, Jamal Gandor, Ian May, and Jared Love. As we get going again.
Yes, it is Charlier and O'Regan on the front row. Excellent start. Conor Melia off row 3, trying to push them in towards the first corner. It's a big lunge down the inside for Conor Melia. He's not got any places, but has a great exit and looking to head up the hill. They're 4-5 wide behind, but all safely through the first corner. Tony Griffin has jumped the start and will have to serve a drive-through penalty. Nicky Charlier leads in towards turn number 3 for the first time. There's a lunge down the inside from Jordan Kelly on Simran Takar. Tony Griffin making up places before he has to come into the pit lane. Jordan Kelly up 3 spots, but Rory O'Shea up 4 from down the back.
Yeah, I think Tony Griffin took his starting tips from Sean McClements by jumping the start there, unfortunately for him. Dylan, though, 7th position at the moment, hasn't lost a huge amount. That can't be said for the man in front of him, Jack Wynn. He's down 3 places. Brandon McGahan just tries a move on Eric Killeen, and unfortunately for Bicky, he's down into 5th place. Right, let's see what else is going on. David Edwards down 6 places, as is Sean Smith. Peter Duke up 8 places. Great start for him. Rory O'Shea up 5. Bladen Skrekovic up 2, as was Lawrence de Soswa. Jordan Kelly up 4 places as we head across the line for the opening lap. Jordan, a bit of a disappointing result from the opening race. I'm sure that Jordan must have had some internet issues or something along those lines, because very unusual to see him. Here's Tony Griffin having to serve his penalty now. Very unfortunate for the number 14 car, as we look at Jack Wynn holding off there now. Dylan McClements, race winner from race 1, and cutting it very, very tight there in the background. Nicky Charlier, oh, what a disaster for our feature race pole sitter. Spins out once again in the same area that he did in the opening race, I think, and finds himself falling down the grid.
Very disappointing for Nicky. Let's have a look and see what's gone wrong here. My guess is too much curb on the outside, but could well be wrong. Takes turn number 1. No, all on the inside. Took way too much. The car just bottomed out, spun round. Very disappointing for the number 32, who ran an excellent first lap, but you gotta run all full 20 minutes. Perfect if you want to win an RTA race. That, unfortunately, is the matter. Now the race lead falls into the hands of Colin O'Regan, with Brandon McGahan hot on the heels. I would not be surprised if there's an overtake attempt heading up the hill and towards turn number 3 on the next lap.
Yeah, it's such a pity. I think for a lot of these drivers, this reverse grid or reverse grid feature race, it puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders if you're starting off, and particularly, I know the feeling. It's the worst feeling in the world where you're in first place and all you can think about, you start to overthink and overdrive, and then the mistakes come in, and Brandon McGahan is already overtaking Colin O'Regan. So you're dead right, Evan. It didn't take very long, and now Conor Melia is behind him as well. So it's going to be a very difficult one. It's going to be a really interesting battle if Melia gets ahead of Colin O'Regan, because we will see Melia and McGahan go head to head. Two guys who do an awful lot of real world racing and have aspirations on track this season. But yeah, you could see there Conor Melia, just the overspeed he has going into the corners. Seems to be much more comfortable on the brake as we go 3 wide, and that is Eric Killeen parked on the outside, getting caught up in that, the Shamrock Motorsports 16 car. Very similar to the incident that we saw with Lee Cogan on the second race, I think.
This is Jan and Dylan. This is personal.
Same corner, and Dylan was not having Jan closing the door there. He was sticking his nose up the inside. And once again comes out the best. He's going to try and go for Jack Wynn, but Jan going to try and go down the inside. Sorry, didn't quite get that one stuck. As you said, Evan, that one was personal.
Turn 3, Jan lunges it from miles back on Dylan McClemens, gets it done, but Dylan says, anything you can do, I can do better. Chucks it down the inside, puts both of their races at risk almost, and Jan had to back out. That is crafty from Dylan McClemens. Now has Jack Wynn in between the two, but if Jan is able to get past Jack Wynn, he is going for Dylan McClemens. This is going to be all elbows out, and tensions are high on the first race week. How good is this season going to be when we get to round 8?
Yeah, it's going to be tasty. And Dylan, in the interviews, you hear him, he comes across as kind of mild-mannered and a little bit meek, but on the racing track, he turns into a different animal, and it's very hard to equate the Dylan that you hear in the interviews with the Dylan you just saw there, forcing his way down the inside into Schlossgold and making the move. But fair play to the young man. He's certainly not afraid. He's certainly not lacking confidence off the back of several championship wins already this calendar year. So, yeah, very, very well able. Simran Takar now going into Schlossgold, the aforementioned corner right at the bottom of the track, and it looks like he's going to lose out to Rory O'Shea, who's making some good ground. Rory, he's up 10 places in the High Prix number 81 car, and Sean McGoldrick is up 8 places after a very disappointing last race. Must have had an issue in that one, and he's all over the back of the Earn Tile sponsored number 7 car, driven by Adam Dowling, who has plenty of support in the chat as well.
Yeah, Kevin Galvin becoming Tommy Bow there for a second. 10 positions. That's what Rory O'Shea is up. Excellent drive so far from the Wexford man. Here is Jordan Kelly and Dylan McClemens, two very similar coloured cars, but Jordan Kelly running the... Oh, that's carnage. That's Lawrence de Soswa.
Yeah,
who's gone off, and we'll have to take a look at the replay.
I think our new boy, Mladen Strekovic, is involved in that as well in the Black Bull Racing machine. Let's have a look at this one. This is Lawrence de Soswa heading down through the corner. Is Lawrence cause, or Lawrence loses it? Ooh. And there's a few losers. Actually, Rory O'Shea loses it. Grace McCallion involved in that as well. And then Mladen joins them in sympathy. It would be good to have a look at that from Grace McCallion's point of view, because I'm not sure what happened. I feel like it started further up and all of these cars were reacting and then just losing it on the brakes because they just couldn't get it slowed down and turned in the same period of time. But Grace is currently down the bottom of the grid, I think. She is down at 37th position. So I think she was being lapped there. I'm not exactly sure how that all played out, but I'm sure that stewards will have a look at that in due course.
Well, Rory got commentator cursed anyways, because he went off immediately after we finished praising him. But he was gone off already. He's already off there, and that is the lap 4. So, or nothing. Yeah, no, nothing happened there, unfortunately. Car park, anyways, at 7 minutes here in this heat number 3. So disappointing for a few. But Brandon McGaughan leads, Conor Reilly in second, and Colin O'Regan running very steady in third position here ahead of Jordan Kelly and Dylan McClemens. Dylan, who is 1/10 behind Kelly, who is 1/10 behind Colin O'Regan, pardon me. Shans out Vela 2 seconds back. So I imagine a move is on the cards here for Buncrana's Jordan Kelly heading up the hill, and he is running right on the bumper of the 46 in front of him. Pivots to the inside. Dylan McClemens will look to follow through and brake later than the man in the black, white and orange. That's exactly how it's worked out. But to be fair to Colin, and to his credit, he knows his battle's not with Jordan and Dylan. If he can keep up and run steady with them, he may pick up a very, very well-earned 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Colin showing exactly the kind of driving that we like to see from those guys who maybe are gifted an opportunity up the front of the grid, but know they don't have the pace. Some of them decide to try and battle it out and get themselves caused in conflict, and some of them decide to take the more intelligent route, I think it's fair to say, in allowing the faster guys by and picking their battles. Colin also running an Intel livery, and I'd love to see what it says. I can't get a proper view of it here, but it says Intel Core Air. Okay, it's Ronan is explaining this to me off camera. It's so Colin is promoting his drone Instagram page on his car this evening. Now, little bit current news, but Colin may be no longer be able to fly his drone very shortly because of an incident that happened in my own city recently in Cork, where a decision was made to close the airspace to all private drone operators for a delivery company who deliver by drone. And AirNav had previously told drone operators that they were going to introduce a full lockdown scenario to all drone operators across the Cork, Shannon, and Dublin airspace, and they're currently in the process trying to work that all out. But yeah, if you're a drone operator at the moment, particularly a private drone operator, it's very uncertain times as regards who controls the airspace and whether you're indeed allowed to use it. Right, very much a side point, but since we were on the subject of drones, I thought I'd bring it up. Diarmuid Toomey is battling with Dr. Dean Pepper Power in the number 20 car, and they go side by side through that's Rausch and Voort. And that's a spinner. We have a spinner in the background. Oh no, it's not actually. Sean McClements. Sean McClements is doing a bit of Tokyo Drift there for us, showing off as is the Sean McClements style. But unfortunately, he's down in 15th place, but he's still up 7 places, Evan. So doing pretty well.
Yeah, Dylan and Sean running a lovely livery this season, the two Team DDR drivers. We're on board now with Dr. Power. I have to say, that's one of the coolest liveries I've ever seen. Putting his own name in the Dr. Pepper logo is class. But he is being pushed up the hill by Simran Thacker. He's broke later than Simran, but Simran will be looking for the better exit here in the number 36. And we're looking at Conor Melia and Jan Zoutevella. And Melia is running pretty well here. Last lap, 30.1. That's only 3/10 off the fastest lap at the same pace as our race leader, Brandon McGaughan. Fastest lap on the last lap for Jordan Kelly was a 29.8. So qualifying times for Jordan. Now, Conor Melia attacking to the outside as Jan Zoutevella in towards the right-hander. Is Jan going to outbrake himself? No, just perfect. Clips the apex nicely. He'll rotate that through in second gear, and Conor Melia will be able, or won't be able to get past. He'll have to sit behind, but Jordan, despite putting in the fastest laps, still has young McClements sat right on his gearbox.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a great battle. These two guys are used to battling up the front, and great to see Jordan Kelly right up the front of the grid as well, because I think this is something that we were hoping to see right throughout this evening, and unfortunately taken away from us, I believe, for circumstances outside of Jordan's control. But it's going to be Brandon, Jordan, and Dylan. Colin O'Regan's behind them, but unlikely really to pose a huge amount of threat given just his overall pace. And I'm sure Colin won't mind me saying that either. Then a big gap back to Jan Zoutevella, so it's going to be all on the Dutchman to see if he can get himself back up, because I'm sure he'll be frothing at the mouth for the opportunity to make Dylan McClements' life very difficult in the last couple of laps here. Eric Killeen going deep into that one. That opens the door for Harvey Dara to do the switch back. Our winner in the second race. And Eric closing the door a little bit here. And oh, there's no free bickies given out here, ladies and gentlemen, as Harvey, can he get the move done? He just about does on Eric Killeen, and that is about as good as a chocolate caramel digestive.
That is a brilliant move for Harvey Dara. Sold Eric Killeen the dream in the first corner and then just blocked past them up the hill. Excellent from Harvey Dara. He is a fantastic wheel-to-wheel racer in these Porsches we are seeing, and that is not his first rodeo today. Brandon McGaughan is under pressure in this race lead from Buncrana's Jordan Kelly and Dunloy's Dylan McClements heading in towards the right-hander. And all I can see since you mentioned it, Kevin, is that wiper moving. That is a cool feature. And Jordan Kelly bouncing over the curb, and oh, where's Brandon gone? He's blinking. He's somewhere there, and Jordan Kelly's run wide. I thought that was going to be a monumental collision between the two, but Dylan McClements is ahead of Jordan Kelly now, and Brandon McGaughan is somewhere. There he is. mistake, and a very rare one of that for Jordan Kelly.
Yeah, that's it's really something you don't see very often from Jordan Kelly. So I think he tried to put pressure, as much pressure as he could on Brandon McCann, but unfortunately getting things slightly wrong. Let's have a look at the replay here. Poor Jordan. Usually we reserve these for people who have made real proper mistakes, and now we're reserving it for Jordan. Oh, this Sean McClement's actually running wide and then over the curb and then spinning out Sean McClemens. Thankfully, at least in this instance, avoiding the wall. But unfortunately for Sean, he has taken himself out of the race. I think that's good night, Irene, for Sean McClemens, who's done really well to be involved this evening. But I think even he knows when to call it a day. Nicky Charlie are back into 10th position. Of course, he started on pole and spun out in the second lap. So he'll be hoping to get back and make some places up. As here's Colin O'Regan. He was fourth up until very recently. The drone operator himself, unfortunately, seems like he's had an incident himself.
Yeah, just on Nicky Charlie here, one of the quickest drivers in the field currently, lapping 1.6 quicker than the car in front and car behind. That's Eric Killeen and Cam Sachuk, so keep an eye on Nicky. That was a good look at something. And Brandon McGowan is who we are looking at now in the race lead, and it's looking like it's going to be a straight fight between himself and Dylan for these next 5 minutes. Jordan has, I was going to say fallen off a clip. He was 3/10 quicker than Dylan on the last lap and 4/10 quicker than Brandon, so not going anywhere anytime soon. But Dylan McClements is the one putting the pressure on for the race lead.
Yeah, and these two guys are going to end up battling. Like, look, Dylan going down the inside. He's certainly putting himself in Brandon's mirrors, but this is going to hold them back and put them back in the clutches of Jordan Kelly. Mickey Charlie are in 9th position. Can he make it 8th? Yes, he does. A little hip and shoulder there on Eric Killeen, and manages to get through. The replays, unfortunately, folks, I think we're having an issue with I actually think the issues we're having is with our replay and not with anything else. So we'll have a look at that ahead of the next round. Brandon McGahan still in first place and being tracked down by Dylan McClemens. I'm just looking at that gap now with Jordan Kelly. It's still around 1.1. Jan Zouteveld now within a second of Jordan Kelly. So they're starting to come together. Whether it'll be fast enough for us to have that last lap battle that I think we're all looking for, that remains to be seen. Here's Darragh O'Connor in the Apex Twin racing machine. He's not gone for the orange livery. He's gone for the yellow. Interesting choice. That wouldn't be my choice, but again, somebody just called me out for saying a silver Lambo would be nice. So maybe I'm not the authority on what color to choose for your motor vehicle. Yeah, that's a very tricky corner. Both of them getting past it, but we've seen these curbs already, Evan, kind of playing havoc, and Sean McClemens was the latest to fall foul of them in this race.
Yeah, drivers not used to them because they didn't have them in the practice last night, so it is a totally new experience here this evening. And Dylan McClemens pulls the dummy. Looked like he was going for the outside. He's now gone on the inside. Hits his apex beautifully, but Brandon McGowan is able to just drive out of the corner. Got it straightened up nice and will remain in the race lead. No slipstream for either of them. This is the battle for the lead, and Brandon McGowan is on the outside here, but Dylan McClemens is trying to drive him all the way to the grass. Brandon throws the block, forces McClemens to the outside, and Dylan McClemens is not going to be able to work that one around the outside. Brandon, very experienced in race situations such as these. He survives in towards Rauk of turn number 6, and Dylan will have to stay behind. We are getting close to the end of this race, and this fighting is going to allow Jordan Kelly into contention.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as Dylan's deploying the speed enhancing wipers, and can they do it? No, they can't quite, but he's going to switch back again. This is really tight between these two. Brandon's blocking them off, but now he's Jordan Kelly to contend with. Brandon just about managing to hold off Dylan McClemens, but Jordan Kelly now, look, Brandon's got wide. Brandon's wide, it's going to open the door. Can he get back on track? No, he can't. Both Dylan McClemens and Jordan Kelly through. Dylan into first, Jordan into second. Brandon has to settle for
Very
third.
smart.
He will be kicking himself for that.
Very smart from Dylan McClemens. He just drove extra along that curve, took a late apex into the next right-hander, but by going further in the straight line, that allowed Brandon, or didn't allow Brandon, I should say, to get back on track. So he had to lift off to get back on. He couldn't just swerve back on if Dylan gave him space. Now Jordan Kelly is going to go for the race lead himself. It's a big bump as he sports the Gantry TV sticker in towards turn number 3. He didn't fancy the move. He wants it in towards turn number 4. Dylan has both defended and attacked into into this corner, and now he's got to defend. Jan Zoutevella is on the end of this one.
Yeah, I'm sure Jan Zoutevella would only love for something to happen to the 88 car heading into this corner, given previous battles between them. As you said, Evan, a really clever move there by Dylan McClements. I think that's the sort of thing that you can do with drivers up the front of the grid. I certainly wouldn't be trying a move like that with drivers at the back of the grid, because you could not guarantee that they wouldn't end up throwing
100%.
themselves back across the track.
100%.
Great stuff, though, from Dylan McClements, who knew Brandon is clever enough not to try a stupid move like that, and was able to use it to his advantage. And it's Dylan who's going to come up towards the line, and I know the Dunloy young Dunloy man will be praying that this is the last time he'll have to cross the line, but it's not. We're going to have the white flag here, and Dylan will have to hang on for another lap around the Red Bull Ring. This is a superb track and car combination. I think it's provided some brilliant racing as we
100%.
take the white flag.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fantastic, and it's 3.5 tenths of a second that separates Dylan McClements and Jordan Kelly, and they head up the hill. That is a defendable gap for Dylan McClements. This isn't Formula V's. You can't defend with a car a couple of tenths behind. We're on board. This is Brandon McGohan for third. Jordan Kelly's going to have to defend the Ballycastle man in towards the hairpin, and that might just let Dylan McClements roam free, but it's a mistake for Brandon McGohan. He's gone for the exit rather than the entry of the corner, and he's looking to push Jordan Kelly all the way down in towards turn number 4. McGohan on the outside, Jordan Kelly on the inside. Jan Zoutevella looking to pick up the scraps. Oh, how late can you brake into there using all of this car's braking power? Jordan Kelly is able to come out on top in second place, and Jan Zoutevella is looking for this one around the outside in towards the double left-handers. Very difficult to do. Could easily end up dumped on the gravel if he doesn't perfectly time his turn in. He's ran along the beach a little bit, and it's looking like Jan Zoutevella is going to have to remain in fourth place here, but surviving the final lap and heading in towards the Jocherind curve of turn number 9 is the prodigy Dylan McClements, and it is going to be a win here at the Red Bull Ring. He will not have to wait until round 7 in through the final couple of corners. A perfect display of precise racecraft once again from the 4-time champion.
Yeah, and the prodigy can finally breathe as he manages to cross the line in first place after a whirlwind last couple of laps. Jordan Kelly in second position. Brandon McGohan, in fairness to Brandon, he did his absolute best there. He took a late apex at Remus. Oh, that's Brandon McGohan. Or sorry, Sean McGoldrick, should I say. Sean McGoldrick going around there right at the end. Oh, Rexy, unfortunately, getting a tap from behind. And here's Simon Hutchings, who has a black flag. So he's a stop and go. I think he has too many track limits as we look at this battle. And great battle going all the way down. Here's Enda Farrell with our Ross Wheatley right in front of him. He's Jamal Gandor behind him. He's going to finish as they started. Jamal sporting the Lebanese colours in the 961, which is great to see from him, Queeving Brennan, then David Edwards, Sean Smith crossing the line. Driver of the day, please, as Evan says in the chat, do get them in for your nominees for this evening. But Dylan McClements, what a performance. Helped out slightly, I think, though, by the fact that the 3 cars behind him were squabbling as well.
Yeah, 100%, but took advantage of that and pulled the gap. He was leading heading up the hill anyways before the scrap by a significant margin. And just under 5 tenths of a second is the gap between himself and Jordan Kelly. Brandon McGohan comes home in third. Jan Zoutevella in fourth. And Conor Melia, Jack Wynn, Harvey Dara, Nicky Charlier. Good recovery after the spin from the pole. Eric Killeen, Kamto Chukwa, top 10. Kamto picked up the pace slowly for that, so Kamto could be up near the front next week in the Nürburgring. Dean Power in 11th, and Simran Thacker, Dermot Toomey, Stephen Donnelly, Dave Collier, Michael Corrie, Dara O'Connor, Sean McGoldrick, Lee Cogan, and Peter Duke of Duke Collier Motorsports in 20th position. Then in 21st we have Adam Dowding, Phil Upson, Ross Wheatley, Enda Farrell, Jamal Gandor, Queeveen Brennan, David Edwards, Lawrence de Soswa, Sean Smith, Simon Hutchings, Colin O'Regan, Sean Cullen, Mladen Shrekovich, Grace McCallion, David Prunty, Sean McClemens, Aidan Moore, Colin Carrigan, Tony Griffin, Rory O'Shea, Rona Keane, Ian May and Jared Love. Time for a few interviews then, folks, and your race winner, Dylan McClements with Kevin Gavin.
Dylan, joining us once again. It's no surprise given how you've driven this evening, but I want to take us back to the second race and even the last race. Yourself and Jan's Outfella having a good old battle, and you sent one right at the last minute into Schlasskol, the downhill right-hander. You guys were having a good old nip and tuck battle there, weren't you?
Yeah, it was a good battle. The pace was, I feel like my pace has definitely improved. I don't usually get this kind of pace in the first round, so it looks promising.
Was there a little bit of anger in that move, or just pure racing?
No, no, I sent it, like, no regrets, no anger.
Brilliant, Dylan. Look, we're really impressed by. Obviously, you won the Formula V season last season, but you're finding it really easily to get to grips with this Porsche Cup car. I mean, they're very different to drive, so you must have put a lot of hours in this week to try and get used to the different machine.
Well, to be honest, I think I've only done 10 or so laps before the practice. I spent more time doing delivery than actually practicing. But it's a really good car. I wasn't really liking it up until qualifying. It all sort of came together. So hopefully I can have a good rest of the season. I'm hoping to see what's like in the wet.
Well, look, hopefully we get the opportunity to see you in the wet as always. Dylan, congratulations. Superb last lap defense and two race wins in a second place. Couldn't have started off better this season for you. So many congratulations, and no doubt we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, cheers.
So it's Dylan McClements joining us. Let's have a chat with the man who finished just behind him in the final race. I believe Jordan Kelly. Is he standing by to have a chat with Evan Dalton?
He is. Yes, so second place, Jordan Kelly. Jordan, congratulations. Just before we get into that fantastic Heat 3, what happened in Heat 1?
I knew I was alongside Harvey, and I just fucking took
Jordan.
took concentration away for like a split second and just touched the rear, and then got sent into the wall. It was my own fault, but I'm still happy to come from 41st back to second in two races. But it was interesting. Some incidents in there, so could be a long night.
Yeah, a good few incidents going in. We're well past the watershed, so you
Yeah,
should
you're
be
okay.
fine. But on Heat number 3, then, great fight between yourself, Brandon, and Dylan. Talk us through that last lap then. What was going through your head?
I just didn't get the run out of turn one, and then I just had to try and defend second, and it's just all I could do. I knew if I held inside and just got a good run out of the corners, I'd be all right. But it was a tough race now, but just kept the nose clean. Really, there was a lot of dives going on.
Yeah, you've obviously raced single seaters for your whole life in real life, but is it safe to say you very much enjoy these tin tops as well?
Yeah, racing and ton tops, they are good once you get the hang of them, but they can be rather deathy, especially these cars with how loose they are. But it's going to be a bigger challenge than the V's like last season. But I think everybody's having a good races and stuff for everybody. So in the most part, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Are you in the sim or on controller next week?
Probably a controller. Take me on a controller unless I'm near the front.
Well, and you always do surprises on the controller, so I'm sure you'll be somewhere near the front anyways, Jordan. Congratulations, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Evan.
And then third place with Kevin Galvin, it is Brandon McGaughan.
Brandon leading this race for so long. Superb driving all the way through, but just right at the end, I think what happened.
Yeah, I mean that the second to last corner, Dylan left his nose on the inside, so either I carried enough in to come out around it, or I got put round. So I gave it a go anyway, or conceded the position, like. So I just had a go and it didn't stick. So no, I'm happy enough, to be fair. I've never driven a Porsche of any kind before last night, like. So 3 podiums I'll take. I wasn't expecting to be as near the pace on this first night.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at the replay of that final lap as you're trying to have a go off Jordan Kelly, and I noticed going into that turn number 2, I suppose Remus, the
Yeah.
tight right hander, you kind of went wide. Was that intentional, or did you just get slightly caught on the curb and ended up being spat out slightly further left than you wanted?
I'm really not used to ABS, so I got into the ABS at the start of the braking zone, and I just ran out left because I can't really judge it the best yet. So I thought I was maybe gonna hit Dylan, so I just took myself out, a car went wider. So I would have missed him if it had really overshot it.
But yeah, look, how are you enjoying the Porsche Cup cars? I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but 3 podiums in the first 3 races. You must be at least getting on with them.
Oh, I'm loving them, to be fair. The ABS, is a bit tricky, but it's nice to be racing something there's quite a lot of difficulty to be driving them, as compared to the V's. And the racing's good. Obviously the V's there's a lot more racing going on with the tow and all, but this is actually, you don't get away with as much. Definitely not.
Brilliant, Brandon. Congratulations. Gave us superb entertainment all throughout the evening. Probably deserved something better than third place this evening in the last race, but no doubt we'll be talking to you again before the end of the season.
Good stuff. Cheers.
Right, so that was Brandon McGahan, and only one more thing to wrap up this evening. And it's a bad day to be a Spurs debutant, but it's a great day to be an RTA Virtual Motorsport debutant because Eric Killeen has been named our driver of the day. Eric Killeen Bicky, I think so. He deserves a well-earned Bicky after 3 good results this evening. Eric provided, again, plenty of entertainment right throughout the evening and raced alongside his hero, Jack Wynn, as well. So a rememberable evening for Eric Killeen, who's our RTA Virtual Motorsport Driver of the Day.
Yes, congratulations, Eric. Fantastic performance. On a totally unrelated note, Tottenham are doomed.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's terrible. I'm really upset for them. Right, Red Bull Ring this evening. You'd think Paddy's Day we would be taking a break and doing normal things that normal people do on Paddy's Day, but
I forgot
these
about that.
these boys aren't normal. So next
Nope.
week, instead of celebrating our National Saints Day, we're off to the Nürburgring to race Porsche Cup cars. So 3 rounds around the Nürburgring GP circuit next week. That is the second round of an 8-round series that brings us all over the world, as you can see. Well, I say all over the world. Germany, America, and the UK, essentially. But lots of different parts of the UK as well. Nürburgring is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to say that I actively dislike the GP circuit at the Nürburgring, but it is nice to go to a spot that so many of these drivers have such
I have a
fond
complaint.
memories of. Go on.
Why is the Nürburgring GP, Nordschleife, and Nordschleife combined 3 different licenses?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, Evan Dalton. You should be able to get a Nürburgring combined, which should be at the price of 2 tracks and get 3 tracks included. I completely agree with you. I'm on that
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more.
iRacing, if you're watching, which probably aren't, sort that.
Well, I can tell you that first time I ever raced in a endurance race was the NEC, and at the time VLN, and I thought I had to purchase all of the cars and the track, so I ended up spending about €100 for one race, and then realized that I actually didn't need to spend half of that
And
amount
while
of
you're
money.
at it, iRacing, give Kevin a refund.
Yeah, give me a refund. God damn it. Where's my burrito? Right. Before we finish off, my many thanks to Evan Dalton, as always. We all kind of met each other last week for the first time, which was nice. In real life. Oh, I know you and Ronan had met each other, but a lot of the people that were in the room hadn't met each other before meeting each other the last week. And as always, as I mentioned his name, Ronan Hedeman for the work in the background. I think I know where we had our problems this evening, so we're going to go by and have a look at those. But really, only very small amounts over the course of what was a really enjoyable, less serious broadcast, I think, tonight. The pressure was off a little bit without the Formula V scholarship prize hanging over us. So, our many congratulations, particularly to this man, Dylan McClements, for a superb opening run this evening. And do join us. Of course, head to rtavirtualmotorsports.com. That is where you will find all of the information on the series. Head to Bois Motorsports, where you will find everything to do with Irish motorsport, both real and virtual. They're fantastic coverage of the Formula V series. Do remember, Formula Vs are coming later on this year. We will have a more in-depth coverage of that as well at Mondello Park, who are another one of our partners. And finally, Trophy.ai. If you haven't checked it out, if you want to get faster, it's a superb use of AI. Much better than some of the absolute rubbish AI art that's out there. So do check out Trophy AI in a way to try and keep yourself faster. But until next week at the Nürburgring, happy St. Patrick's Day for those of you who celebrate. And we'll speak to you then. But until then, slán go full.